What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alolan DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. Now if you remember correctly, last episode we covered Alolan, Raichu, and I asked you guys which bulky Pokemon from Generation 7 you wanted to see me cover. It was a choice between Bewear and Mudsdale, and Bewear came out on top. It was actually pretty convincing as well. So that's who we're covering today, but of course we have next episode to sort out too, and that is going to be a battle between the Poison Fire type Salazzle and the Fire Dragon type Turtonator. So let me know which one you want to see down below in the comment section by saying Salazzle or Turtonator, and the one with those votes will be covered next episode. But for now, let's jump in and have a look at the normal fighting type, Bewear. So Bewear is number 760 in the National Pokédex, the strong arm Pokemon, and as I mentioned, a normal fighting type. It stands at 6 foot 11 inches or 2.1 meters tall, so it's pretty damn big, and weighs 297.6 pounds or 135 kilograms. Breeding wise, it's in the field egg group, and the male-female split is simply 50-50, so there's not a whole lot to look at there. But of course we have the evolution chain with Bewear's pre-evolution, which of course is Stuffle, and Stuffle evolved into Bewear starting level 27, so it's fairly quickly evolving. And if we take a quick look at Bewear's base stats, you can see its highest base stat is 125 in attack, pretty high health points at 120, and then going further down we have defense at 80, which is still pretty good, and then further on down we have special defense and speed at 60 each, and then special attack at 55. So as you can see, it's a physical, bulky Pokemon, so it's pretty damn good in that regard. Ability wise, there are 3 available, but there's only one that you really want to think about using, and that is the first one, Fluffy. This ability halves the damage from any contact moves, so that's all physical moves basically, and some special moves like Grass Knot, but it has a secondary effect which makes Bewear basically weak to fire type moves. Now bear in mind, if those moves are contact moves as well, they cancel each other out and it takes normal damage from those moves. If they are special of course and they don't make contact, then it means that it'll be weak to them, but it's not overly bad. It's pretty good in terms of the exchange of, you get loads of, basically it's almost a resistance to all physical moves, just in exchange for one weakness, so it's not too bad. The other ones are Klutz, which means it can't use held items, which is a terrible ability, and then Unnerve, which means opposing Pokemon can't eat berries, which is okay, but it's nothing special, so we're going to be using Fluffy for basically everything. So what can we say about Bewear's normal fighting type? Well, it resists 3, which are Rock, Bug and Dark, is weak to 4, which are Fighting, Flying, Psychic and Fairy, is immune to the Ghost type, and takes neutral from all the rest, so overall it's not a bad typing. It's not definitely not bad, but it's not amazing either. It gives it pretty good fighting stabs, that's decent, but the normal typing is a bit like, yeah, it's pretty good, but you only get 1 immunity from it, and that's basically it, and the stabs aren't amazing either, so it's not an amazingly good type, but it's decent, nothing to complain about there. So what moves could you use with your Bewear? Well, there's quite a few, so let's jump in and see what we got. The first is at level 36, it can learn Hammer Arm. This is a powerful fighting type move, 90% accuracy, so it is a bit iffy on that, but it's 100 base power, which is pretty darn good. But it does lower your speed as well. However, Bewear's sort of mediocre speed, we're not actually going to care about it too much. You could for some uses of it, but generally Hammer Arm is pretty good and a definite option for you. Then we have a status move at level 49, this is Pain Split. Now we'll look at later on where you might want to use this, but obviously it splits the health points between opponent and you, which is okay, it's a good health point restoration technique, but with Bewear's high health point stat, it's probably not the best, since it means that more than likely you'll be giving a lot of health points over to your opponent in exchange for very little yourself, but it will be good in a couple of situations where if you're actually at low health you could restore a lot from it. 2 more level up moves. The first of those is level 56 Double Edge, which is a nice powerful normal type move, 120 base power. Obviously you stab on this as well, so it's pretty darn good, especially if they don't resist it, but of course there are a lot of things that resist normal type moves, and it's not super effective against anything, so it's definitely not the main attacking move, but it can be used. And that's followed up by the last level up move, which is Superpower. At level 62, it's the same power as Double Edge. The only exchange is that Superpower obviously lowers your attack and defense once you've used it, which is okay, it's a good exchange I suppose, and a nice, really powerful move, and obviously you only want to use it in those situations where you're going to get a kill and you can switch it after us, for example, but it can still be used, Superpower, get attack drop, but you still do a lot of damage with that. Then on to TM moves, we have first TM08 Bulk Up, Obviously with Bewear's nice high attack and defense, we can use bulk up very well to increase both attack and defense, making us even bulkier and even more hard hitting, so it's definitely something to think about. Then we have TM28 Earthquake. Not much to say about that move because it's pretty much just fairly common in competitive, and Bewear gets it, so why not use it? This is followed up by TM27 Return, which is again an alternative to Double Edge really, if you don't want to be losing health points. It's not as powerful of course, being 102 base power at its maximum happiness, but it can still do some decent damage, and is a good alternative if you don't want to have to deal with the recoil from Double Edge. Then 2 TMs left, and that is first TM65 Shadow Claw. It's an optional move because, for example, Aegislash, not exactly a Pokemon that Bewear would fare well against without this, because fighting and normal, not exactly the best moves against a Ghost type. So Ghost is definitely, basically your move to counter Ghost types. Shadow Claw just hit him with a super effective move, and of course it actually hits them as opposed to both your stabs, which won't at all. So you definitely want to think about running Shadow Claw. Then one final TM is of course TM90 Substitute. This can be run in combination with Bulk Up for some pretty good sets, and obviously we'll look at that later on, how you can sub up. 2 moves left though, and those are both egg moves, which are Ice Punch and Thunder Punch. This is coverage, especially against the flying type, because obviously you are weak to the flying type, which both of these moves are super effective against, so it's definitely something to think about running. And of course it's just generally good coverage as well. Ice obviously covers grass and ground, and then electric covers water, so there's different options for you to think about using there. So that's it for the moves. If we jump straight into the sets, we are going to be looking at actually 3 sets. The first one is basically full attacking, all out attacking. The second one is on a vest set, and the last one is going to be more of a defensive, bulk up set basically. So the first set, we're going to be looking at just doing the most damage possible. So to start off, our moves are going to be, first of all we have a fighting type stab. This can either be Superpower or Hammer Arm, up to you of course. Then we have a normal stab right after that, Return or Double Edge. Then we have Ice Punch for basically coverage against flying types and such. And the last one is a choice between Earthquake, for ground type, decent damage, Shadow Claw because it'll be good for ghost types, you won't have to use Ice Punch on them, or Thunder Punch for just some more coverage against water types for example. Ability of course is Fluffy, since as I mentioned it's pretty much the only one we think about using. Nature is Adamant, since obviously with our Halo speed we don't want to really be relying on it, and with our good defenses we can actually take some pretty good hits. We have a Choice Band as our held item because we're looking to do as much damage as possible, and this is echoed in our EVs, which have maximum attack, 164 in speed. Now I know I mentioned we're not really relying on speed, but 164 speed allows you to outspeed most slower things, which allows you to hit, for example, Hippowdon with Ice Punch pretty well and stuff like that. And we then filter the last few EVs into health points with 92 in there. So your choices here, you have a fighting type stab, which is Superpower or Hammer Arm. One is going to lower your attack and your defense, the other one is going to lower your speed. Now, Superpower has got higher accuracy and more power than Hammer Arm, and with a Choice Band set, you are generally looking at doing 2 really big hits of damage, or maybe even just 1. And Superpower is what will allow you to do that, because of course, it will just do the most damage basically. Hammer Arm will lower your speed, which is okay, maybe it's better than lowering your attack and your defense, but with just 2 attacks that you're looking at doing really big damage with, Superpower is probably still the way to go, but you can run Hammer Arm if you want, if you're not too keen on lowering your defenses. Then we have obviously the normal type stab to choose from, Return or Double Edge, again up to you in this case. Double Edge, again, it's more damage, so you might want to think about running that, because recoil, yeah okay, that's the only reason you might not want to use this move, because with Choice Banded Double Edge recoil, you might well just get yourself in range for the enemy to take you down in the 1 turn, whereas a return, they wouldn't be able to do that, so you'll be able to hit 2 returns off, which was about 204 damage overall, 204 base power overall I suppose you could say, or Double Edge, which would be 120 base power overall, so return would be better in that instance. Ice Punch, as we mentioned, is just general coverage, and it's generally what you want to have, although you could do a simple combination of Ice Punch, Earthquake, Shadow Claw and Thunder Punch in those last 2 slots. Shadow Claw is definitely something to think about. You at least want 1 move that can hit ghost types, so Shadow Claw is definitely a big possibility, but Earthquake is also pretty hard hitting too, and obviously gives you a bit more coverage as well, so it's definitely something about there. As I mentioned, we're using the Adamant Nature because we don't want to really care about speed too much, apart from those few in the EVs, and the band is just there for most damage. You could run a Life Orb, but then you're risking losing again health points similar to the Double Edge recoil that will put you in range to get taken out by a special attack, because even though your physical defense is pretty high and you have that fluffy ability that basically increases it even more, your special defense is only 60, which means it's not perfect really, so you have to watch out for that. But that is remedied in our second set, which is of course the Assault Vest set as I mentioned. We're going to jump straight in. The options are very similar to the first one. We have Hammer Arm or Superpower in the first slot, Return in the second, Ice Punch in the third, and the last one is basically Shadow Claw, Earthquake or Thunder Punch once more. Fluffy is the ability again, same nature and adamant. This time we have the Assault Vest, which increases our special defense by a fair amount and gives us both physical bulk and special bulk, which allows us to survive a lot more hits. EV wise though, we have a maximum attack, basically 252, and the same spread as before, in speed and health points, because it's a very similar set, except the first one is centered around doing loads of damage with Choice Band, whereas the second one is centered more about, I'm going to be a bit bulkier, I'm going to dish out 2 or 3 hits as opposed to one really big one. So, Hammer Arm or Superpower is slightly different in this set because of course you don't want to, superpower, because then you've got -2 defense, and you've got -2 attack, and you're focused on staying in, a bit more longevity, and of course the lower defense means you're just going to get killed quicker, and we're not looking to do 1 or 2 big hits, we're looking to do maybe 3 or 4 slow and medium-sized ones. So Hammer Arm is probably the better choice here because you are slower, sure, because of the Hammer Arm, but your higher defenses sort of make up for that, so you can think about running that instead. It's similar, we have Return listed rather than Double Edge because you don't want to be losing all that recoil, all the health points to recoil, because then it just defeats the purpose of your Assault Vest really, so that is that. And then similarly before, Ice Punch, Shadow Claw, Earthquake, Thunder Punch could be a mix of those 4, or Ice Punch and an Earthquake, Ice Punch and Shadow Claw, etc. Whatever you choose to really do here is very similar to the first set, except as I mentioned we're looking at being alive a few more turns than the first one, doing a bit less damage, but still being able to soak up loads of physical hits, as well as take the special ones pretty well as well. So you definitely got some options there. But I'll move swiftly on to the last set because I find this one quite interesting. We have, in terms of the moves, Substitute, Bulk Up, and then Return, Shadow Claw or Pain Split, and then Hammer Arm, Shadow Claw or Pain Split. Ability is Fluffy again. Nature this time is a careful one though, which is slightly different to before, which gives you that boosted special defense and lowered special attack. Obviously we're not using special attack. Boosted special defense though sort of does a similar thing to the Assault Vest really. It gives you equal defenses basically. Held items are leftovers as well, because really this one is about bulking up and just getting settled in. And the EVs, we have maximum health points and maximum special defense, with the last few in speed. So let's talk this through. We have Substitute and we have Bulk Up. We have pretty good physical defense already and sort of existing to begin with, and we've got a Careful Nature and maximum special defense EVs, which gives us a very good special defense stat. So the idea is you bulk up, you bulk up, you bulk up, you substitute, and then it's going to take even longer to get through the sub to actually get to you, and by that time leftovers hopefully will have restored your health points. So that's the idea behind this set. You have pretty good physical defense anyway, and then decently good special defense to begin with, and you can bulk up your physical defense up even more. So you bulk up your sub, and then choices in terms of moves: Return, Shadow Claw, Pain Split. As I mentioned earlier, Pain Split is a possibility for a bit more health point restoration as you go, but it's not hugely reliable, because obviously if you've got more health points than the opponent, you could be on like orange, red health, and they could be on like green if they're a really flimsy Pokemon, and you could hardly gain any health points from it. So that's why it's not the best move to think about, but you definitely want to run Shadow Claw, I would say. That's why it's listed twice here. You want to run at least Shadow Claw so you can hit ghost types, and then the choice between Return or Hammer Arm is up to you. Return if you just want damage, reliable damage without any speed drops, or Hammer Arm if you want those fighting type stabs that can actually do some decent damage and not be resisted by every other thing in the shop, but you are okay with the speed drops because it's a pretty bulky set here, so you're not hugely bothered about the speed drops, but it could maybe play a part in subbing up at some point, so you want to think about it here. But the general idea is you switch in, you maybe bulk up once or twice, then you substitute, and then you can start dishing out damage behind your sub and hope that the leftovers keeps you in battle long enough for just to keep on subbing and bulking and subbing and bulking. So that's really how you use that set. But that's going to be it for Bewear, of course, guys. Those are 3 sets there for you to play around with. And of course, we have the next episode's Pokemon to vote for if you haven't already. We have Salazzle and Turtonator. Let me know down below which one you want to see covered, and the one with most votes will be covered next episode. But for now, this is going to be it for today, so I should be saying next time, thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.